And we are back. This is the WFNY BrownsCast recapping the NFL draft. This is another podcast part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joe Gilbert. I'm once again with Taylor Jedrzejek. Taylor, how are we doing?
Pretty good. Recovering from being in a stadium with 90,000 screaming women. Not that that's a bad. Like I had
Right.
fun, but
Yeah.
it was very loud. I've never been in a stadium with more people.
Yeah. Wow.
I've never been to. I've obviously never been to a major college football game, but like
Right.
that was a lot.
Yeah. It was.
And if there was ever a year to kind of pass on the draft for the Browns, it was this. Like as a Browns podcaster, I guess it was probably this one because like they didn't pick until what? When was their first pick last night? Like
I
what
think it
time of
was.
night
I
was
think
it?
it started at. I think it was 9 o'clock, 9:30, something like that. If I can think.
Yeah, that's.
Because
I
it
mean,
was early
that's.
in the third round, but it was like 9:30, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
late.
yeah,
Like, like you at that point you've watched what about
73.
almost 5 hours of draft
Yep,
coverage?
yep. Without the Browns being even talked about. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
It's a weird feeling. We're getting used to it. Started last year, and it's gonna happen one more time.
yep. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm good with it.
yeah,
Uh, I did see the Browns getting. I'm not going to say rightfully dragged on Twitter for posting their
yeah.
"this is our first round pick" and "this is our second round pick" tweets.
I give them credit for leaning into it.
Yeah, I give them credit. Like I'm glad that they did both. I think if they
Yes,
had just stopped at Watson, they would have been a
yeah.
little
That would
more.
have
So
been, yeah, it would have been a little bit more uncomfortable, but yeah.
yeah, what would have been funny is if the Jets responded to the video with a picture of "this is our second round,"
Yeah,
like "this is your second round pick too," and it's Aaron Rodgers.
that's true. Yeah. Okay, so before we hit on each player today, this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. For first-time depositors, enter in the code WFNY at checkout. Underdog will match your deposit up to $100. It's a great platform if you're tired of the DFS system. There are tons of game types, drafts every night, and every sport. Don't forget to use WFNY at checkout to get your first deposit matched up to $100. That is our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Okay, so as we were talking about, the Browns did not have a pick until round three, pick 11 in round three, which was number 74. Um, they went with I wouldn't say it was a surprise, but a name that wasn't kind of in the discussion, a lot of people's discussion of it. They went Cedric Tillman, Tennessee wide receiver. A lot of people were just talking about his teammate Hyatt, and he's kind of the under talked about guy. But the more I kind of looked into him and watched some of his tape, I've been more intrigued by him. He was their better receiver in 2021, and then got hurt last year, and that's how Hyatt kind of got his fame because he got the more touches after that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I like the it's we kind of talked about before the draft. The receiving core has a really good diversity of skill sets, and Cedric Tillman gives us another thing. Like he's a big guy at 6'3", so he gives another tool in the receiver toolkit. So, what's your thought on Cedric Tillman with the first pick in the third
Uh,
round?
well, initially, I mean, it seems like the Browns may have been targeting Hyatt because the Giants jumped them to pick him right before them. So I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. But it's never a bad thing to have a whole bunch of those guys. I did see some talk on Twitter if this makes um, DPJ's role kind of redundant, and if they might just kind of let him test the market this coming off season and let him go if he's going to get paid a bunch of money. I mean, obviously, if he has another great season, I don't know if the Browns are going to be able to afford to keep him because of the how much money they have locked up and elsewhere in the roster. But it's always nice to have that kind of size in your receiving room. Now you have what, 3 guys that you can put out at every given time that are 6'3" and above in the red zone. 4 I think they one of their tight end they signed this offseason was also in that area.
Yep.
Like, if you really want to, you can put out a mega jumbo
right.
jump over everyone package. And
which is nice because they struggled last year in the red zone. Like it seemed like they kind of had trouble kind of getting open or kind of getting guys open down there. So it's nice kind of getting that size, another kind of target for Watson to make some plays in the red zone.
Yeah.
I really liked it. He seems like he's kind of an upside guy too, because going into the year he was thought to be one of the better receivers in the draft, but he got hurt and kind of his stock went down a little bit. So if he can return to that kind of level, that's a good pickup there at 74. So and the other thing a lot of the picks we'll kind of go over today is a lot of them were kind of insurance picks in my eyes. Like Cedric, I think he might be an insurance for DPJ. If he has a big year, they might be priced out of his. So Cedric might be the guy that takes over for him. So I think we'll talk about other picks later on, but I think this is just one of the picks that are kind of an insurance for guys on a roster.
Yeah.
So next one to follow up on Cedric to finish day 2, they went with Siaki Ika. He's from Baylor. He is a big man, 6'2", 358, but I think he has fluctuated through between that and like 330. So he is a big man on the defensive line, and he provides some run stuffing ability and just more beef on the defensive line, because they're not obviously they signed Dalvin Tomlinson, but like last year they didn't really have many big guys, so it gives them more size down there and another body to put in that rotation to see if they can improve on last year, which is not a high standard.
No, I mean, there's a lot of people that they could put out there to improve that.
Right. Yeah. I really like his ability to kind of be stout in the run game. So I feel like they're gonna have Dalvin be that three down interior defense lineman, and then probably go with a kind of a rotation for the rest of the other starters. So I could see them putting in Maurice Hurst, maybe Jordan Elliott, who knows? But it kind of there's a lot of bodies in there now. So it's going to be a competitive training camp to see who actually makes the roster at that position.
Yeah, which is a far departure from where we were last year.
Right. Yeah, and who knows? Maybe they add more, because they did have Woods, I forget his first name, in pre-draft as a free agent. So maybe they actually sign another one. So who knows? But it's definitely, you can see the plan this offseason is add as many bodies, new guys in this position, to get the interior going and out of the crappiness they've been in for the past 3-4 years.
That feels like
Seems like,
that feels like putting it kindly.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's any other thoughts on Siaki?
No, I mean I think one of the things because I was able to listen while I was driving home today to some of the draft coverage that they were running on the Browns app with Zagura and Cherry was that it seemed like, and we're going to get more into this because they drafted more guys like this too, but it seemed like the Browns really valued some size this year. They they got a whole bunch of guys with a lot of height, a lot of weight, just big guys. Where last year they tried to run defensive tackles out there that weren't necessarily the biggest guys, and like they haven't had a big receiving core in a while. They had Njoku and DPJ, and now they have another. They have one more big body plus their other tight end. So having some size advantage on the field is never a bad thing, particularly on defensive line. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was day 2. And then day 3, one of the names that kind of stuck out to me that was still on the board was Dewan Jones, and he was able to get to the Browns at 111, and they took him. He is I think Andrew Berry called him an orca of a man. He is 6'9", 350, I believe, or 370, something ridiculous. But
yeah, a lot of human.
yes, a lot of human. Yes. The kind of nice thing is at Ohio State, he moved well for a guy that size. They showed basketball highlights of him in high school. He has better feet than you would think. So there's stuff there. I think it sounds like he dropped a little bit because of his character issues. I guess there's some people were wondering if he really loved football and wanted to play hard. And there's effort issues there. But Bill Callahan, best offensive line coach in the league. I'll give him anybody.
Yeah,
If you have the skill set, I'm going to give him anybody. And if he can't make you into a player, then you're probably not going to be a player. So I'm really excited about this ad here. It was in the top 5 of my biggest needs heading into the draft because they pretty much only had 3 playable tackles on the team,
yeah,
and one was very questionable, and 2 other ones were injury prone.
yeah.
So it's great to add depth there, and it could be a future replacement for one of them. So, what's your thoughts on Dewan Jones?
Um, back to the size thing, but I saw that they have those charts every year of the percentile of every player in the draft,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was in the 98th percentile in everything but 40 time and 10-yard sprint. So, which lineman, but it's when you get someone that has that many tools just like naturally given to them. If they have the want to, then maybe you have a tackle if and when Wills moves on, or if and when Conklin moves on, stuff like that. Like this kid seems to have all of the God-given abilities. It's just that if the headspace thing is what truly knocked him from a first-round talent to a fourth-round pick, then you got to have faith in the Browns culture to kind of get him to that point.
Right. Yeah. And it's the skill set is there, like the talent is there. He was supposed to most mocks and big boards that I saw were second round.
Yeah,
Early
I mean it's
third.
hard to overlook that much when you're that size and can move. It's hard to overlook it,
Right.
but obviously there's something there.
Right. And I believe I think it was Pro Football Focus I think he had the best grade in passing in FBS. I don't think he gave up a sack this year, which is an impressive feat for a guy that size.
Especially a guy in the Big Ten
Um,
where they have good edge rushers.
yeah,
He
right.
played
Yeah,
against Iowa and he played against Michigan and Penn State, who all I don't know. Penn State might not have been the best example, but Iowa I think had a bunch of guys drafted, and Michigan obviously had a
yeah,
bunch of guys drafted. So like these are
yeah.
and they played against Georgia, who obviously everyone gets drafted. So
Right. Yeah. That might have been the biggest one, like the
wait,
Georgia.
no,
Yeah.
everyone gets drafted specifically and only by the Eagles.
Yeah, that was wild.
But
And then they traded for a Georgia guy
yeah,
in Swift. So yeah, yeah, he was tested this year and he played well. So it's sort of like you wanna give him a chance with Bill Callahan, and we'll see
yeah,
where he's at. And
that was a let Bill Callahan cook kind of pick.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Here's this guy with everything you want. just just get his head straight, and we'll see where he's
Yeah,
at.
let him talk to Joel Petonio
Yeah,
for like a week.
exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah. So it's another insurance policy too, based on the two injury-prone people that are starting for the team at tackle. I don't think it's a indictment on either of them in terms of just their playing level. People were saying, "Oh, are they going to turn down Jed's option?" Like, no, it's that's. I don't think you take a guy in the what was that, fourth round
Yeah, no,
to be like, yeah,
this
it's
isn't
just another
competition for Jedrick
right,
Wills right now.
right. It's just another body that could be something in the
This is
future.
insurance because both of your tackles have been very hurt the last couple of years.
Yes, yes. So now they have four guys there that you can hopefully have that are playable. So that's where I'm at with Dewan. Next pick was my favorite pick. He was one of my favorite guys coming
Yeah,
into the
when I
draft.
saw that pick when I was driving home today, I was like, oh, that was a guy you talked about.
Yeah, yeah. Isaiah McGuire from Missouri, edge rusher. He looks it like if you built an edge rusher, he looks the part. He's got great power and he shows some nice bend and on the edges. So to get him here in the fourth round is I was very excited about it. Um, yeah, I think he can definitely play right away in terms of a rotational guy because he's ready to go right now as a run defender. So another another aid to that very porous run defense last year. So,
Yeah,
um, what's your thoughts on Isaiah McGuire?
I mean, it's they're checking all the boxes. Like as you go down this draft thing, they're not like they to this point in the draft they hadn't reached, they hadn't uh, like one of the most valuable picks in the draft was actually according to like some of those metrics was Brown in the third or in the early fourth, whatever that was. But it it's another guy that you get late that maybe should have gone 20, 30 picks prior, and he's a guy that should be able to help. Um, it's it's nice to see when the Browns make picks that don't make you question your existence or question the existence of a functioning GM.
Yes, I totally agree with
Yeah,
that because we've been through way too many of that. Yeah, um, yeah, I'm super high on McGuire. I think he can turn into a starter down the road. That's how high I have on him. He's a great athlete too, which is a theme of this draft for the Browns. Besides one Siaki, who's gigantic, so
yeah,
you kind of weigh the odds there. So, um, Yeah, it's just another body in the edge rusher group. They've added what two this offseason in Obo and now McGuire. So we'll see. I assume they'll probably be in the market still, maybe for a veteran. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I really like the pick, and I think he can contribute right away. I really am that high on him.
Yeah, like
Um,
he should be able to get it. Well, I mean, the rotation isn't deep, but he should be able to get
right,
into the edge rusher rotation pretty easily if he comes into camp ready.
right, yeah. So right now they have Obo, they have McGuire, they also have where are we at here? Miles Garrett, obviously, Alex Wright, and then Isaiah Thomas,
Yeah,
who's
who's
a rookie last
developmental.
year.
Let's put it that way.
Yes, right.
He was always
So they got
developmental. When you're
five,
drafted in the seventh round, you're a developmental guy.
right? Yeah, so they have five guys. Um, I think they last year. I think they went with five. I think to start the year, 5 or 6. So it's depending on what you have in the interior too.
Yeah.
They kind of correspond. Um, that's the other nice thing about McGuire. He can actually move inside too because of how big and strong he is.
Mm-hmm.
So another kind of aid there too.
Yeah, six
So
four. I mean, 268 is kind of a small for an inside guy, but like 6'4"
yeah,
is like he's big frame.
yeah, 6'4" and really long arms and really strong. So yeah, he's definitely a guy that can move in there and help out there.
Yeah,
Um, Next pick was I wouldn't say it was the I would say it's the most intriguing one.
yeah. No, I don't.
It
I
was
don't cite it as a bad pick. I cite it as kind of a
no.
huh.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, right. Okay. It was
What do you
with the
what are you
fifth
guys doing here?
yeah. With the fifth pick, or the fifth round pick, first of their fifth round picks, they drafted Dorian Thompson Robinson from UCLA. Um, a lot of years start. I think was it 4 years? I think he played 4 years there, um, and he got better every year. And he really had his best year last year, which is what you want to see. He's a experienced guy. He's going to be, I believe, 23. I think, or is 23. So he's an older guy, but he's got the skill set mirrored to Deshaun Watson. He is an athletic guy, dual threat quarterback, pretty good arm. It's just his accuracy and kind of his vision on the field. He's got to get in some trouble with, but the skill set, just like DeJuan Jones, the skill set is there. So you kind of give it to Stefanski and company to see if they can mold him into a workable backup. What's your thoughts on DTR?
I don't have any issues with the pick. It's like if there's any issues that I saw come out of Twitter in the last few hours about this draft, it was definitely that they didn't pick a running back. They did sign one in undrafted free agency just now, but reportedly, allegedly. But this was probably the slot that it would have happened. There was some good guys on the board at that point,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think this is a bad pick because I think good organizations try to find quarterbacks whenever they can in order to uh, bolster their own roster with quarterbacks that are cheap cheap in a relative sense. Because if this guy makes the team and he goes out and shows in camp and in preseason that he's far better than Josh Dobbs, his payroll number is much smaller than Josh Dobbs will be as a veteran. So it it's a kind of a shrewd roster move, banking on potentially a rookie quarterback coming out. And if not, I mean, all this kid has to do is be better than Kellen Mond to hang around on the roster.
Right.
So
It's not hard.
no. So I think when I saw the clips of this kid right away, I was like, well, that he was taken specifically because he fits the same play style and mold of Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
He's very similarly sized. I think Watson might be a little taller. They both have the ability to run. They both can. They're going to be able to run a similar offense because I did see some clips of Thompson Robinson running some read options, some RPO stuff in college. Like these are all concepts that won't be foreign to him coming in. So he'll have that ability to, obviously he's not going to be Deshaun Watson, but the offense shouldn't drop off in terms of what they're able to run with him on the field.
Right. Yeah.
There would obviously be a giant talent drop off.
Right.
But,
yes.
But they're not going to all of a sudden be like, oh, well, we can't run RPO anymore because this guy can't run.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much similar to what we had to do last year. Like we couldn't really run the same offense with Brissett and then Deshaun. So that was I wonder if they kind of okay, maybe we should be doing this. I know Andrew Berry said they didn't look to get the same skill set, but
with Brissett with the 11 game, what they thought was going to be 6 and what ended up being an 11 game. They needed a guy who they could trust to go out there week after week and not get exposed after 2.
Right.
And Brissett didn't get exposed because he was almost as good in game 11 as he was in, his last game was the Bucs game.
Yeah.
It was like his best game of the year.
Yeah.
So like they needed a guy who could be that was a borderline starter in the league anyway, and that could bridge that gap. They didn't anticipate it being 11 games. And I think because it was 11 games, you ended up with an offense that wasn't used to running what suits Deshaun Watson. How many times in the last 6 weeks did we say, if the receivers only knew how to run the scramble drill?
Yes, 3 times. Yeah.
So
yeah, that was an intriguing pick. We'll call it.
Yeah. No means bad. That's more of a let's wait and see what happens kind of thing.
Yes, definitely. So for their last pick in the 5th round, which was just 2 picks later from DTR, they got Greg Newsome's old teammate, Cameron Mitchell from Northwestern, a quarterback. I think he took his number after Greg Newsome left, which is funny. Seeing him, but this is probably my second favorite pick. Because
for as late as they got him.
Yeah, for as late as they got him, a lot of people were high on him, and like the team needed a slot corner, and he's a guy that could do that. And obviously, you probably aren't going to play him in the slot as a rookie right away, but he has the future that could do that. And I just love that that he could do that role. He fills another need for the team, so I really like this pick, and I think one of the big things was he was highly used in Northwestern on special teams, so that's going to be a great thing to get him on the field right away. So I love that kind of correlation too.
Yeah, and it's like just honestly, I'm sitting here reading the ESPN bio just as a reference point. But it says that he played well in press coverage. So I wonder if that's an indication of what we're going to get this year out of the cornerbacks when we have a bunch of guys that are good in man coverage and we haven't run it. And we drafted a cornerback who is good in man coverage.
Boy, it's going to be nice not watching them sit back in zone. Picked on 5 yards.
Getting beat in man can result in worse plays.
Yeah,
but you're not gonna get dinked and dunked down the field like we've seen for the last couple of years.
That might be the more frustrating thing to watch.
Yeah,
like, one play you can okay, the guy just got beat, but just getting consistently beaten down down the field on these 5-yard passes. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
being
frustrating.
3 yards away from a receiver that runs a 5-yard stop.
Yeah, and
Like,
with none of your corners really great at doing that coverage.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
they're
obviously
not
they're
built
still
for
going
it.
to run zone,
Yeah,
but no, it doesn't feel like this
it's not
defense
going
is
to be.
going to be based
It's
on
not
that.
going to be 90% of their snaps
Yeah,
like they did last year. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I really liked it. I think he's going to be a great in the special teams. Because I know they lost a few guys who contributed on special teams last year. So it's good to kind of get another guy on there. And that's how you get on the field as a rookie. You get on special teams early and you kind of show what you got there.
yep.
So that's good. And then the last pick, well, we didn't think it was going to be the last pick, but we'll get to that in a second. The last pick was in the 6th round, Luke Whipple from Ohio State. So they went 2 Ohio State kids, which was, I believe it was the first time since 1965 they took 2 Ohio State kids, which is funny.
Back
He's
when nationwide scouting wasn't really a thing.
right. Yes. Yeah, they probably just, oh, this guy looks good down there. Yeah, so he's a center at Ohio State. They a lot of people are calling him a smart guy. He's not like overly like athletically gifted, but he's a guy that's just produced. They showed clips on ESPN where he did well against Jalen Carter, who was most people's top defender or close to the top defender in the country. So
Yeah,
it's nice to see that. So there's another body in the center position. There's quite a few. We got obviously Ethan Postich. We re-signed Nick
yeah. I
Harris.
do. I do wonder what this means for the center position as a whole right now,
Right. Yeah,
because
because
you don't usually
because
run with 3.
yeah, I and also I also forgot about Dawson Deaton. They drafted last year, so
Yeah,
like there's 3 guys there that they had already. 3 relatively young guys. Ethan is a little bit older, obviously, but yeah, it's going to be interesting how this plays out. I know Nick Harris is a free agent after this year, so this could be
yeah,
just insurance to kind of move on from him. But Dawson Deaton, I know he tore his ACL, I think it was in the preseason, or actually, I think it was training camp. So we don't know what his level is, but I do wonder because they're a little bit short as the interior guard. So I wonder if they're going to try to move one of them. I don't think Whipple will be because I don't. People have kept saying that he's not very positional versatile right now.
yeah,
So maybe it's Dawson Deaton. Who knows? But yeah, I'm definitely that's going to be a training camp watch there. Let's see what the heck happens at that center position.
yeah. It definitely has the feel of, maybe this the Ohio State kid might be undersized as a guard, but you draft these guys to be centers, and a lot of times they could also be guards. And I think that was one of the things we talked about in last week was maybe getting more just depth at the offensive line, because
Mhm.
they were so injured last year. Teller has proved not to be super durable. Obviously, I don't think this kid is going to replace Wyatt Teller,
No,
but having bodies behind him isn't always a bad thing.
right. Also, it doesn't force you to put Michael. Didn't Michael Dunn go in there as center once, or they put somebody in there that did not normally play center.
Frohold.
Yes,
Frohold.
yes. So yeah, it's just once again it's another body. So if anybody after this draft should feel a little bit uneasy on the roster, I would say it's Nick Harris. um, Not a great sign because he's a free agent after this year, and he really hasn't. He's played 2 games, I think, one each year, and then he lost all last year.
Yeah.
So I would just look into that, and it's going to be intriguing to see if they move. If anybody can kind of transform a guy into another position, it would be Bill Callahan. So I wonder if Dawson Deaton or I doubt it'd be Whippler, but if anybody wants to kind of move over to guard to see if they can perform there, that would be kind of a nice
Move
piece there.
to play guard, or you might not make the team.
Right, pretty much. Yeah, that's basically what's going to happen. Um, yeah, there's a lot of competition down there. So, um, yeah, to finish up the draft, the Browns then traded their 7th-round pick to Baltimore, which is always funny. Craig in our Discord brought it up. They actually traded with Sashi Brown, so which is funny. But the Browns then traded him to Baltimore, and they received a 2024 6th-round pick. So they got a value pick on that one.
This is one of my favorite things to do in franchise mode in Madden.
Trade for next year a higher pick.
If you don't have a guy you want in a particular round, see if anyone is offering you a pick from the round higher next year.
Yep.
And you got a 6th for a 7th.
Yes. Yeah. So
obviously much better value.
Right. Yeah, I was looking next year's picks. Now they don't have a first. It'll be the last year they don't have a first, barring some other trade, I guess. But they have a second, a third, and then they don't have a fourth. But then they have 2 fifths, I think 3 sixths, and a 7th or something like that. So they got a lot of picks next year too, but they're a little bit back heavy.
Again.
Yeah, so at least they have a 2nd rounder this year.
Yeah.
Right now. But yeah, that was the draft this year. Overall I liked it. Let's go over our kind of favorite picks. My favorite pick, as I said from the start, Isaiah McGuire. I think he can contribute right away and be a starter down the road. I just love the pick, and he was a favorite coming into the draft, and getting him in the 4th round was just a favorite of mine. So, did you have any your favorite pick or anything like that?
For the sake of being not being a parrot to you, I'm going to say DeJuan Jones. Am I saying his name right? I don't want to be stupid here. Yeah, DeJuan Jones. I mean, you're talking about a guy that ESPN has ranked as the 8th best offensive tackle in the draft. He had a draft grade of 81 and an overall rank of 57.
Yeah.
And you got him at what is 4.9? I don't even know what 4.9 would be.
I think it was 111.
Yeah. Like Warren Sharp had him rated as one of the highest values in the draft. They got him at 111. He was expected to go 40.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
it's always funny when they come out of it never pops up during it, but then when someone falls, you start hearing why they're falling, which is interesting because they're always projected to go 40 or whatever, and then you see them fall and then there's rumors of character issues that didn't come out prior to that, but
agents doing the Lord's work.
Yes, hiding it. Yes, that is a very good point. That's what they're there for.
Yeah,
hide your works.
In round 4, according to this chart that he has, the Browns had 2 of the top 10 most valuable picks in Jones and McGuire. McGuire was expected 103 and went 126. Right. So, they got value late, which is when you only have late, you got to get value.
Right. Yeah.
The only time they showed up on the overdrafted board was Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who he expected to go 167, and they drafted him at 140. But
it's just not that. What is it? A half a round?
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's not the Bills. Justin Shorter, who I think is a receiver, they drafted and this is the 5th round, same round as Thompson Robinson. They drafted a guy 150 who this metric expected to go 272. So
outside the draft.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, I mean the Patriots I think had they had the lowest overall ranked pick. They had Chad Ryland went to the Patriots 112, and he was expected 303.
Yeah, they always have. It was last year
They always have one.
Yeah, because I think it was last year they took a guard that wasn't. I think it was like a 5th or 6th rounder in the first round. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's they always make. What are you doing there, Bill?
is your dog drafting again?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So overall I like that they really addressed. Beside which kind of leads me into this, the position that you kind of were a little not not concerned, or I would say the position that you're surprised they didn't address. Mine is running back. I really thought they would come in this draft because it was a really deep running back class. Because as you were talking about, in the 5th round there are guys that were very intriguing. So I was a little bit surprised that they didn't get a running back. Any position that you were a little bit surprised on they didn't hit on?
I mean, running back is definitely one of them. I know that I kind of wanted them to take a linebacker late, but obviously, I don't think this, unless someone falls like Owusu Koromora did, or there's just someone can't miss. I don't think this front office is necessarily going to value linebackers in that way. So I'm not surprised. I'm like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 2 disappointed. Like,
yeah,
could have been done. I'm not surprised.
Safety was another one a little bit because they had two really good starters and then a rookie or a second-year guy and not much else.
Yeah.
So that was a bit surprising. Obviously they're not going to go with a 3 safety look anymore with under Schwartz, so it's not as big of a deal. But I just thought that was maybe a place they would go with a depth pick there.
Yeah, I mean, based on sources and rumors, they have brought in 2 safeties now and undrafted. They have 9 guys signed as undrafted free agents, allegedly.
It's amazing how fast they signed.
And 8 of them are on defense. So they're obviously it looks like they're really trying to push competition.
Yep.
On the defense, get the best out of the guys that are at the top right now.
Yep.
They have given away $375,000 in guarantees already for these guys. Mohamed Diabate from Utah got $250,000 guaranteed as an undrafted free agent.
Oh.
So there was obviously a bidding war for him.
Yeah.
But we won't know a lot about a lot of these guys until we'll see a lot of them in Canton in 3 months.
That's true. God, I keep forgetting about that. That's okay. Yeah. We're gonna see all of them.
Yeah, because we are sure not gonna see any starters.
Hell no. They used to play starters in that game. Now they do not.
I mean, obviously for 2 reasons. One, this is an extra preseason game that no one wants to play in, and the NFLPA would have a shit fit if important players went out there.
Right.
And 2, we play the team in the regular season that we're playing in the Hall of Fame game. So
that's another good point.
They're not going to show anything. They may even run a foreign offense.
And 3, Stefanski is not a guy that plays starters that much in the preseason anyway.
No.
So,
I would not be surprised if they came out and ran the wishbone.
That would be hilarious.
Are we going to run this season, guys? I don't know.
That's going to be DTR's coming out party.
It'll be the ultimate DTR versus Kellen Mond face off. The guy who beats the Jets 4th stringers worse is going to get the job.
Exactly. Oh man, yeah. I keep forgetting that they're in that, but yeah. Any final thoughts on the class? Overall, I really liked it. I thought they addressed most of their needs that we kind of talked about before the draft. Um, and they didn't obviously have the top picks, but they got some value at the spots that they actually did pick. So
No,
I'm liking what they did today.
yeah, and
Or
when the
over two days.
when the analytics, metrics and all those things that Browns fans love to hear about, have you as the fifth best draft value wise, and you didn't pick until pick 72,
That is very good.
you're doing something right with how you're picking. Like
Yeah,
it's that's kind of what you need when you're picking later in the draft. You need to make sure that you're getting guys of value that can actually help you. Um, because obviously there's been drafts in the past that you just kind of throw things at the wall and hope they stick in the late rounds. Um, and this front office has been guilty of that too. I mean, Anthony Schwartz,
hmm
it's another example. Like these late round guys, you don't want to bank on them to build your franchise around, but it certainly helps when they don't suck.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And just look at Kansas City last year. They their whole secondary was pretty much rookies. At least their cornerback position was built on the rookies. So if you can, if one or a few of your kind of middle round to late round guys can hit, that is just a huge boost to your team. Like it's monumental how big that is to kind of get a guy out of nowhere basically to kind of help your team
Yeah.
move forward. Yeah. The other thing that was kind of almost surprising was Andrew Berry almost did not make a trade. That was shocking to me. That was like going in the seventh. I was like, we're actually gonna make 8 freaking picks tonight.
Yeah, that was something that did surprise. Like we talked about it pretty repeatedly that they weren't
Yeah,
going to make all those picks, and in the end they didn't. But
right. It was
oh
close
boy,
to it.
oh boy, they almost
I
did.
think we were like I think we were 3 picks away before before they traded it. I was like, damn man, we almost did not have an Andrew Berry draft day trade. So
And it ended up being a pretty good trade. Like
yeah, definitely.
you get the value of getting someone. You get the value of turning a 7th round pick into a 6th round pick.
Yeah,
Sure, it's next year, but like if there's no one on the board that you're absolutely desperate to have in the 7th round,
which you
why
probably
not pull
do
that
not.
trigger? Yeah, like
Right.
there's very rarely someone in the 7th round that you're like, oh my god, I have to draft this guy.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously situations where you're like, okay, well, we don't want this guy to get to the free agent market because he'll probably go somewhere else.
Mm,
But if we can get our hands on him on the draft night, then we're gonna do it.
yep. Yeah.
And they clearly didn't have anyone that they valued in that way, and they went out and they've given some money to undrafted free agents, and they've already signed 9, so
Yeah.
they're obviously pretty persuasive.
Mm.
But
Okay, so one last topic I was just thinking of. So we're coming out of this draft now. Is there do you think if you had to pick a position where they kind of hit with another veteran, what position do you think they're gonna target?
safety,
Safety. Okay.
yeah, I think they'll bring someone. I like not to beat down the linebacker train again, but I wouldn't be surprised if they brought down a safety or a linebacker. I think they pretty much have all they want, receiver and tight end wise.
Mm.
Um, it's just a matter of getting more experience on the defense, which is where you lost a majority of your games last year when you, especially early in the season.
Mm.
That Jets game is going to haunt me forever, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to live in my nightmares.
Oh God. That was worst game experience I've ever been at a Browns game, and that is saying so much. So much.
Were you at kick 6?
No, I was not, luckily, but that
I
was
mean,
probably
kick 6 was funny though.
close.
Like that one was funny.
Yeah, because they were
already
they
bad.
were like they were shitty, and that was just like, oh, this is one of the more Brownsy things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
but you weren't like, oh God, what the like. But it was like early last season. The team was what 1-0, feeling good.
They were 1-1. That was week 3. They lost week 1.
Was it week 3?
No. Oh yeah, no,
No,
yeah.
they beat Carolina. Yeah,
I thought it
yeah, it
was
was
week
week 2.
3.
Yeah, it was the home. I think it was the home opener, and you're feeling good. But I was walking out, man. This team is freaking 2-0. When's the freaking last time that's happened? And I get down the elevator, and they get the onside kick. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Damn it! I can't leave now.
Right. I literally had to watch the game from the hallway, which was so bad. But yeah, that was a bad experience. But last year. We're over that. So getting back to my question, I would go with. I really think they're gonna go with another defense lineman. It could be an edge rusher or a interior guy. I'm not quite sure, but I think they. It just seems like the trend this offseason. They just want to get as many bodies in there as possible to kind of fight it out and be competitive down there. So I would say a defensive lineman will be their veteran add before the season. But just looking on the roster, there's just not a lot of holes anymore, which is a good sign. Offense looks pretty tight. The offensive line and running back are probably your biggest need areas, and they're both just depth issues. Yeah. And then on defense, interior defense line is probably your biggest need. And then every other place is just depth issues too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good spot they're in. It hasn't, like last year coming in, there's glaring needs in the interior where there's just no starter. So yeah, it's a good spot they're in. But before we get out of here, any final thoughts on the draft or anything Browns related?
No. It's weird. Like when you're sitting watching the draft in real time, you get to see the reactions on Twitter live and all the developments live as they happen. When you're coming back to the draft after the fact and you've missed the context of it, the draft is like, it's really weird to kind of dig into.
That's a good point. Yeah, like you don't know who was kind of left.
Yeah, like I don't know how to feel about a pick like DTR because like who did they pass on? Who went right before it?
Right.
What was the discussion about it when the pick was announced? Like you lose all that context that you usually get in the draft in watching the draft. So it's just kind of a weird thing to come back to.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's it. Now there's going to be rookie camp. It's usually a week or so later, and then you get some more OTAs, and then you'll somehow get to training camp. And
I think we get schedule release sometime soon, don't we?
Yes, that will probably be our next podcast.
We're gonna schedule game in May.
Schedule game that shit out of there, baby.
A May tradition, the 12-5 Browns.
Yes. It is definitely an annual tradition. So, yeah, they kept promoting it. It very annoys me. This is the NFL for you. But on the NFL Network, they kept saying, oh, the schedule release. And it just says coming soon. I'm like, you couldn't give us a date yet? Like, I love how they just do it willy-nilly. Okay, it comes out tomorrow. Like they always like release the date like a week before.
Yeah.
Like
I'm amazed it doesn't get leaked. Like sometimes you get certain games leaked and but the entire thing rarely gets leaked.
That is very true. Yeah. You always get like these
like we ones. Even like there was a couple of years ago we had the entire women's basketball tournament leaked and the NFL schedule never gets leaked. Like
yeah, it is funny. They lock that down very, very tightly.
Yeah. Like Nintendo couldn't even keep the new Zelda game under wraps until its release day, and the NFL keeps their shit together until 7 p.m. on X day.
Yeah. So that should be. I think it's usually middle of May.
There was
right?
the one year
Middle
it was
of
the
May.
end of May and everyone hated it. Just like
Yeah.
the
I
one.
think was that the COVID year or close to the COVID?
I think it was the year that they moved the draft to like the second week in May, and everyone
Oh,
hated it.
God, that was terrible. I remember
Like,
that. That was
what
absolutely
are we
the
even
worst
doing
decision
here?
they ever. Right. That the pre-draft process was so long, and oh my God. Yeah, I remember that. That was a bad. They quickly changed course
They're
on
like,
that.
oh
Like,
crap, we
we're
screwed
not
this up.
like, it's really hard to screw up the draft, but we kind of did there.
We managed to mess this up.
Yes. What I think it wasn't it, but it was like on Mother's Day or something.
Yeah, it
I
was a
think it was
bizarre.
like it was so late. Yeah. So, yeah. So we'll be back around whenever either the day of or day after the schedule release.
Yeah, depends on when it is.
Usually
If
comes
it
out around.
drops at like 10 a.m., maybe we can do a night thing. If it doesn't, if they try to make a
It usually it's like I think it's usually
yeah,
like
if they try to
7.
make a primetime show up.
Like,
I mean, theoretically, we could be live.
we can do it
Do it live.
We're doing it live. Damn it, we're doing it live. So look for that. And obviously, if anything else breaks, we'll be on. God willing, hopefully nothing breaks during the off season, because that's usually not a good thing.
Typically not. No.
Typically not. So, yeah, we'll be back then. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is the WFNY BrownsCast post-draft recap, and we'll be back later in the month. So